It's gonna be first too.
Okay, I am here today with Ann and Shawna Higgins, grandmother and granddaughter, and we're going to take you on a residential tour of memories. We've used the 1927 directory, for want of a better word, that lists the people where they lived and what kind of occupation they had. And somebody, we don't know where the list came from, but somebody has copied out where all the African-American people lived in the city at that time. And the year was 1927. So we're going to start here with, basically there were three communities. You had Rigg Street and Railroad Avenue. Then you had what was termed as Happy Hollow. And then you had what also was called Little Egypt. So we're going to take you through each of those three sections. We'll start with Rigg and we'll work our way over to the main licking. So living on Railroad Avenue was at 333 Railroad was Sherman Baker and Albert Baker. And Ann is going to tell us if she knows anything about these people and what she knows, what she remembers.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
About Sherman Baker and Albert Baker.
Yeah, I knew Sherman.
Okay.
Well, I didn't know as well, because he moved away to Cincinnati, but Sherman stayed.
Okay.
They were brothers.
They was brothers, yes. Mm-hmm. I think Mr. Doon, he might have been the oldest. I don't know for sure, but it was four. I think it was four of them. And I don't know. I had to wait till the weather got warm to go up to the cemetery. I need to write all that down.
Okay, that's fine. Then we had on Rigg, this is what Railroad Avenue today looks like.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not from Falmouth and you're not familiar with it, that's just kind of there to give you an idea what it looks like today. And then Rigg Street, we have William Miller, Will Watson, Fountain Ashbrook, and Leonidas Merritt living on Rigg Street. And I know a couple of those names are familiar to Ann.
Will Watson is my grandfather. The William Miller, I don't know him, and Fountain Ashbrook didn't know him, but Leonidas Merritt, I think he must have been dead too. But you know, before I can remember and everything. So, but I know, like I said, I think the William Miller might have been Mr. Jinx Miller.
Okay.
Well, it's funny to call them by their nicknames, but
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you like to tell us about your grandfather?
My grandfather was, he was a little man. I guess that's where I take, you know, with shortness and everything. And he came up from the South. I think it was Alabama, and he moved. They came to Cincinnati, then they moved into Kentucky because of work. He worked in tobacco and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And worked at the deposit bank for years and years and years, you know, as a maintenance. And we lived right across the street from him and my grandmother. And we did pretty good.
Okay.
He was all right.
Of course he was. And this is what Rigg Street looks like today if you're standing up there at the Veterans Park. There's a lot of houses not here anymore on this street that would have been here in 1927. And then we have another view of Rigg Street from Shelby Street. And as you can see on the right, and even on the left to some degree, there's a lot fewer homes than what there used to be. Then the next one is Happy Hollow and the surrounding area, which is basically 2nd Street. First of all, MONTJOY Street, we had Mary Miller, Martin Coleman, who worked for the city, Lee Crozier, James McGee, and then the pastor for the Allen Chapel also lived on MONTJOY.
I guess when I came along, most of those people were probably gone because I don't. James McGee, I think he was Willie McGee's father, and Lee Crozier. I'm thinking that might have been Harry's grandparent or something, but they had to have been all related, you know, so.
Right.
And like I said, I didn't, it was a good, I was pretty up in age. I mean, not old, for, you know, went to Happy Hollow.
Okay, yes, I'm sure, because that would have been kind of a walk for a little one. This is where MONTJOY Street is today, what this area we're talking about. On the left, there is the Hardin Browning Post 109. We're looking at it from the side. That was the Allen Chapel at one time.
Yes.
And then this is the other end of MONTJOY looking toward Allen Chapel, which you see up there on the right. Just to kind of give you an idea.
Oh, it's coming from the bottom of the street. Okay.
And then on 2nd Street, we had Julia Woolery and Thomas and Annie Johnson. And this would have been the site where Julia Woolery lived. Not sure it's the same house. I have no idea, you know, or if it's been added on to or anything like that, but she lived there. And the best I could come up with for Thomas and Annie Johnson is in the red circle. You can see where Julia Woolery lived on 2nd Street down here. Over here is St. X, the church. So we're moving, the 200 block is here, the 300. So this would be the 400 block, but there, again, there are no houses there. While we're on this screen, I'd like to point out that at one time, this Water Street went across here, and then Park Street came down on this side as well, between the Ice House and which is up here and the other. Then I think 2nd Street looks like probably went to the railroad tracks. That looks like it could have been an indention from a road. And there were, as we were talking earlier, there were businesses here. So it makes sense that there would have been roads going into it.
Okay.
Then next we're getting to Little Egypt. Now this is Ann's area. She knows these people really well. We start on Beach Street.
But, okay, the William Buckley, he was a minister at the Happy Hollow Church, right?
No, this would be on Beach Street. It says the AME church.
Okay, that's my mother belonged to that church too.
Is that the Ruth's Temple?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. George Berkner, Mr. Gene Warner, he died. I think I wasn't born when he died. And Gene Warner. Lawrence Wilmot knew him. John Berkner was Mr. George's father. William Coleman. I know I should know him, but I can't put it in my head. And this Ella Hand, she died before I came along. Well, no, she wasn't dead. I'm sorry. But I just didn't know her like, because she was always working, and she goes out to the country and work on the farm or stuff, you know, cooking and stuff. Mr. Warren Hood, he was a laborer, you know, this whatever work somebody come along and want, you know. Forrest Strother, he was like I said, the barber, and he lived on the Beach Street, and he was a nice man. he was. And like I said, Gilbert Taylor, I loved him to pieces. I call him Mr. Papa. And Milton Chambers, his wife was the school teacher. And they moved to Erlanger. And Mr. John Broadus, I didn't know him.
Okay.
Because when I knew the Broadus, they lived on Lincoln Street. So, but I don't. But it wasn't John. And
Okay.
Doris Case, I just heard of the Case people, but I didn't really know her.
Do you remember anything interesting or unique about any of these people? Or anything you want to share with us about any of the ones you remembered?
Burton, the store.
Mm-hmm.
He's the one that used to work with the store, right?
Mm-hmm. Mr. George.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was the one. See, Mr. George, he was so nice, but he had he couldn't use his left side, but he ran the store. And if you go to his store and you say you want a pound of bologna, it was always in a row.
Mhm.
With his ice pick and stick it through that roll, cut you the nicest slices of bologna you want, and bacon or anything. And he, like he was handicapped, but he didn't rely on that. He worked in his store, and it was amazing because most other people that was in that shape that he was in wouldn't have made it, but he was,
Right.
I was in the store all the time, you know, right around the corner, but it was I had a nice childhood.
Well, good.
About the
those-
softball team.
Uh,
The softball team.
was
When we were on beach, there was a story about a softball team.
my daddy was on they had
Uncle Tony was on, and
you see that picture I had?
that's
Okay, I got a picture of my father. He got on a uniform, and it was some opposing. They was up on B Street, and they played. Couldn't play in Falmouth on the fields, but they went to Antioch, and they could play from out of there. And then across the street, and you go way down from our house. It was a creek, but it was a great big field that the Sanders, these people named Sanders that lived there, and they kept that area clean, and they played ball down there, and they had
Oh,
a team, really good team. And then, but I do remember them being able to play over to the school ground over on Main Street, and it was fast pitch, and I,
oh.
didn't miss it. Brother was like 12 or 13, and he could pitch better than him and Calvin Hood. They was the two pitchers, and my brother could out pitch him. It was nice to go over there and sit on the bleachers, and if you had friends and everything, you could sit with your friends and stuff, and it was really nice. Neither English and I, we was, oh gosh, I loved that girl, and she loved me, and we go to the ball games and things. It was nice.
Now, you mentioned Calvin Hood. Was Warren his dad?
Yes,
Okay.
one is the youngest out of that family, and it was 3 boys and 1 girl. So, and but Calvin is the only one that's still living. He was at the reunion, you know, with when you had it here. You remember him?
No, I don't. I don't remember.
He was on the cane
Okay.
thing, and he said over this side
I
of
think
the,
she's talking about when they named the bridge.
The bridge, that's what I'm
Uh-huh.
thinking. Yeah.
The
I
reception.
met so many people that day.
oh,
I probably
I know
remember
it was
my
quite. It
seat.
was really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was nice.
Okay. And then what we've done is we've just kind of pulled up a map to kind of give you an idea where these people would have lived. And in this part of town, it was hit by a tornado in 68. We had flooding again in 97. So we kind of had to fill in the best we could where we think the lots would have been.
Okay.
But the Reverend William Bunkley lived at 305 and George
Mhm.
Vertner was at 307. This is 307, but if you notice
Mhm.
right next to it's 309. But it looks like all one roof. So I'm thinking that may be a duplex or something today. And 309 might have actually been this spot down here in front of the cars because that looks like about the size of a lot there. Maybe, I don't know.
Mhm.
Kind of hard to tell. And then 314 to 16 Beach Street doesn't appear to exist today. This house up there was 310. So we kind of ran out of space there.
Yeah.
Then this is the First Baptist Church. So
Church,
that kind of
okay.
gives you some
Mhm.
perspective. This property today down next door to it is owned by the Housing Authority.
Yeah.
So those houses were gone at least after the tornado, if not before.
Yeah.
And you can see
Look at
who
that.
lived at where about. Again, we had to kind of guess on that.
Seems so funny to look from the airplane.
Isn't it? Yes. Look at the tops. And we're not real sure which corner John Broadus would have lived on, but here's a corner of 4th and Beach on each side.
Okay.
And I believe the house with the purple roof was that, did you tell me, or did I get this confused, that would have been Vertner's maybe at one time?
That's
Vertner's was
that's
on the
the
right.
area where that trailer is, where the Burton
be-
store was.
This, okay. Okay.
You know.
The house with the purple roof was the McGee residence.
McGee House. Okay. I knew there
Store
was,
as
and there was
well.
a store
Mhm.
there too, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Correct. Mhm.
Yeah. You want to tell us about that? About Willie
About the
McGee?
store,
Mhm.
I stopped there every morning, going to go to work. It's I had a favorite kind of candy, and I stopped there every morning. And it was a nice store because for his friend to have a job to draw Social Security and stuff like that, and he built that, and it was really really a nice place, and he had just about everything you need. And the kids go up there at night to get soft drink out of the machine, and that was convenient.
Mhm.
It was right across the street from where the Mr. George Vertner had, had his store and stuff,
Mhm.
because he had that whole corner
Okay.
up there and then some. Mhm. But John brought us, I don't remember.
Okay. Yeah, we're not sure what corner he lived on. And this was the other corner, which is now the First Baptist Church parking lot. And we're not sure, as I said, which corner John Broadus lived on.
Well, it was a house on the corner
There was one there. Mhm. Okay.
where, because after John Hinton bought it.
Well, and he had his TV store on that corner, didn't he?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Then we're going to move on to East 4th, and this was a little different as well. We had Rita Hall at 507 and Imogene and Robert Ayers at 609. Merrill Monday lives somewhere on East 4th, but it didn't have a house number for him in the directory. 4th and Licking was Ed James. Any of those people you remember, Ann, and want to talk
Well,
about?
I knew Imogene Ayers. She was Miss Grace Merck's sister, and the Robert Ayers was her brother. Because Miss Imogene, she never married.
Okay.
And Ed James, I knew him, but I don't know where he came from. He was just there. He had he married Miss Susie Hand's daughter. He wasn't married at that time to her, but they had a child, and it wound up with my grandfather and grandmother adopted him.
Okay.
Things didn't go right with Mr. James and Miss Bella. So, I didn't know the beginning.
And now Merrill Monday, you are a Monday descendant. Did you ever hear of Merrill? Do you know, was he some of your relatives?
Well, I might have, but it was so many of them. It was quite a few of those Mondays, or somebody came to, to the brothers and stuff, and you heard, but you knew he was a Monday.
Okay.
They would let you know that they was, because my grandmother came out of the, didn't she come out of the Monday family?
I think so.
And everything. You found that, didn't you? She came out of the Monday family.
Right.
She was out that circle.
Okay, and then this would have been Rita Hall's, the location of her home. And the heirs were on 609, and I could find 608, but I'd found no 609. So that house is also gone.
Yes.
And probably some time ago.
I was gonna
Then on Licking Street.
Oh boy. I don't know Maggie Willett. Bradley Murd, of course.
No, he was John Merritt's father, right?
I
think so. Yeah. Okay.
And Charles Mundy, that goes with some Mondays again. Mr. Jeffrey Sims, knew him. I think I knew George Conrad, but we call him by different names sometimes,
Right.
And Mr. Dennis, he lived next door to us. Oh, he was a trip. Richard Conrad, Lucinda Sanders, her husband was a preacher, and they had a lady named, a daughter named Willie, and after my mother, she was my favorite. And Les Hall, he was kin to the McGee's in a way, and the Southgates, because he was my aunt's, she was married to my uncle. This was her uncle. And his brother married one of the McGee girls.
Okay.
It's just the way it went. Ida Huey, I think I remember her too. Because it was part of a few people on Lincoln and Beach and forth,
Right. It does look that way. And then we get into 315 Licking Street, Maggie Willett. And this is one of those, you know, the house number is not there. Here's 312 and 314, but there's no 315 on the other side of the street. My best guess is that it could have been this lot, and now that somehow they either built a different house or they've changed where the door opens.
Yeah,
Maybe that did open there at one time. I would have no idea about that to be certain, but she's in that, would have been in that area.
yeah.
And then over here, we see Bradley Merritt up at the top with Charles Monday and Jeff Sims across the street. The Conrads all here. Lucinda Sanders, and then Les Hall down here. But we didn't have a house number for Ida Huey.
What is that over here? Oh, because we live next to Mr. Dennis and
Right.
we see him, you know where Dude's house is? It was a little greenhouse over there. The flood took that of the tornado. And Mr. Bradley's Mary's house is where Skip Taylor now lives at.
Okay.
The house there, that's where he used to, but but when I guess when he married Miss Gracie, they moved down by the creek.
Okay.
Going down by the creek, and it was some houses and barns across from them, but they got blown away in the tornado. And
Right.
you know, down
Yeah,
there.
this area was hit pretty hard, I think. Wasn't it?
Yeah, because it came right through there, and this was out like down by Broad Street for the little. Well, a child got sucked out of it. When the mother restored, she said the baby was just gone.
Yeah.
Of course, you know.
Oops. There we go.
I mean, they had Pepsi company. I just can't think of it and everything. But a lot of people, you know, I guess from 1927 to 37, that's 10 years in between. And
Right.
from where I was born and time I was up and getting out.
Well, yeah. And old enough to have memories too. Yes.
Yeah. I had a lot of that and everything. But Mr. George, I guess that up there for the cemetery we went to, was that?
Yes, Crescent Hill. Mhm.
Okay, I never did, you know, we just said we're going to the country, you know, because around up, going out, and you get to that curve, that road went this way, and George Shannon's house was over there. But my mother and father and grandfather and some, they lived further back that go down that road. But we couldn't get down there the day I went up there. But that's where this boy found his father's people. They got a cemetery up there.
Okay.
And he cleared that out.
Oh, the John Wilson property. Yeah, John Wilson.
Well,
And the
yeah, I
civil
guess it was, wasn't it?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yes, and he had his farm up that way too. And then Charles Mack lived on Robbins Avenue.
Oh, he's the one I was telling you about, had the good apples and everything.
Yes. And you'd sneak over in his yard and get you some, right?
Oh, he just, like, you could go from Robin Street to B Street, you know, go cut through the yard and everything. And
Uh-huh.
them a couple of apple trees in the back, and when they fall, and then when we come out to B Street, that's where this woman named Miss Margaret Warner, her husband was already dead, and she had the pear tree. And in October, by me living in town, I could get up this and get all those good pears and everything. We, you know, when you're a kid, you think that you are, I don't know, just poor when you wasn't. You didn't have a whole lot of uh, finances and stuff like that, but you had each other, you had friends, and you did things, and you were, and we wasn't allowed to go any place without asking. You know, we just didn't go out of the house and just go somewhere. And it was really, I sit down sometimes and think about that, you know, well, you know, this could have happened to me, that could have happened to me, you know. I I had an uncle that lived in the country, go out there on some weekends, me and my brother, and I was afraid of horses and cows, but I still had a good time.
Yes, I'm sure.
Uh-huh. But, and Mr. George Sparta, he had all kinds of chickens and stuff and everything. It was, you know, and you could go down the hill and get walnuts and stuff. It was just, you know,
Yes.
you needed what you needed in that time. I mean, it was all right with us. And I was telling my brother something Sunday, and he said, "What?" And it was him I was talking about. And he said, "Well, what was wrong with me?" And I said, "Well, you had scarlet fever, you had typhoid fever, you had this and that, you know." He,
Wow.
you don't remember. You see.
So you had typhoid fever was around in Falmouth when you were young.
Yeah.
Wow. And that's something we don't hear about today, having it in.
It's,
Yeah.
you know, it's just some of the things are just memories. And it meant a lot to me when I was young at home and everything. And it put me through with the people that was there, you know, because I could go anywhere. I could go anywhere in the neighborhood. Some
Right.
doors knocked on and some you didn't.
Okay, and this we're bringing to the end of our program, and I just really want to thank Ann and Shawna for helping get this program together and for all of their willingness. Anytime I've called on these two ladies to help with African American history or just history of Falmouth, they have been more than ready and willing, more than ready and willing. Boy, I'm having a hard time talking tonight. And it's time after time that they are. So we appreciate you girls so much.
Oh,
It's our pleasure.
it's
our
this
pleasure,
is something,
definitely.
It is.
We appreciate you bringing these programs to Pendleton County.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Some
Thank
people
you.
just don't.
And of course, we appreciate the people who tune in and who watch these programs. So we want to thank our
Absolutely.
viewers and remind you that you can check out our YouTube channel for more local history videos. One of those is Crescent Hill, where Ann and Shawna and I went out there and we did some filming at the cemetery. So you can look at that one up too. Thank you all so much, and we'll see you later.
Okay, this is really nice. I like to do this.